Guys, this is Keith Kelfis with the Untrapped podcast. We have an awesome show right here in Michigan. Just wrapping up the season, we have Steve DeHunt from PMS, We'reTheGuys.com, huge brick paver company and a heavy hitter, definitely. And we got Eric Reno from Paramount Building Incorporated. This guy's a roofer who brought himself up from nothing and built a multi-million-dollar enterprise. They both have tons of employees, and it's a huge honor to have them on my show. I'm personal friends with both of these guys. Actually, a couple years ago, Eric introduced me to Steve. He's like, "Bro, you gotta meet this this guy, Steve," and it's really gonna be awesome. Listen to what's happening in this show today, and also on the Untrapped podcast on Apple and Spotify. What's up, Eric?
What's going on?
Thanks for being on my show, bro. Again,
of course.
What's up, Steve DeHunt? First time. So, before we started the show, you guys were literally talking about hiring employees and what you could pay them then. And what about now, and how the whole economics of a service business has shifted and changed over the last few years. You guys are growing your businesses like crazy. And what is it that you guys were talking about with the mindset of the people listening that they're trying to grow their businesses? They want to get to the next step, and they're like, how do I grow this thing? Because you guys were talking about profit margins. You were talking about keeping employees happy. And so, Eric, something's coming up in your mind. What's up, bro?
No, I was just trying to go back through the story that we were talking about, and just trying to play it and I guess cater it to the people that would be listening.
And I'm also excited because you're speaking in literally next week or in 2 weeks at the roofing.
A week from today, man.
The roofing process conference.
Yes.
Dimitri Lipinski from Roofing Insights, and you're going to be one of the keynote speakers.
Yes.
Tons of people there.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm so fired up about this. I'm excited.
So, this is not your first time speaking,
right?
And you want to do the best. What are you going to be talking about, and how can you talk about that here, bro?
Okay, so I mean, basically, it's going to be about evolving your mind, because brief story, like I was stuck. I don't want to say I was stuck at the $5 million revenue mark, but I was stuck at the $5 million place in my mind. Like I was personally stuck there. Like I wasn't growing as a person, and I wasn't evolving as a person, though I wanted more. Right. So it's more geared toward evolving the mind, because everything that happens out here is a product of what happens up here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of really what I focus in on. Like keep the distractions out as you're growing. And, when you scale a business, scaling a business is mental. It's not physical. Right. So coming from me, somebody that's physically in roofing, and I'm out there getting it, and I'm laying shingles, and I'm running crews and doing what I want, like that's not going to get you to 8 figures, right? Up here, this is what's going to get you to 8 figures.
It's physically impossible with the amount of hours in a day to make more unless you do it with your mind and leverage.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, through other people.
Through other people what?
So who did you have to become to take your business and blow past 5 million, and now you're going to be into 8 figures?
I mean, I think it's just like the evolution of the mind and the mindset and like the capabilities of yourself, right? Like I'm more focused on like processes and procedures and training and planning, rather than like how many jobs are we going to do? What's the revenue? What's, who are we hiring, or how many, like it's not about the logistics anymore. It's more about the planning and the processes and putting the processes into place.
Where do you learn that shit, bro?
Well, you gotta do it for a while and understand. The biggest thing for me is like creating that vision, right? So, you have a 3-year vision, your 1-year target, and then breaking it down into 90 days, where every 90 days is a process, a stepping stone to get to that spot, right? So, hey, till next year I want to do 20 million, right? Okay, so what do I have to do this year in milestones to make sure that I hit that number, right? Like that stuff's happening up here, and then I'm cascading that vision to my team, to where everybody in my team understands. Like if you ask anybody in the office, hey, what's our revenue goal for next year? Everybody knows, right? Everybody knows where we're going, and they also know why we're going there, because the why is the reason, right? Why are they working harder? Why are we hiring more people? Why are we opening new locations? Why are we doing this? Like if they don't know why, then why would they ever buy into your vision? They don't know.
So everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys?
I mean, it's
that?
deep. I just don't want to like.
No, I know it's. I'm reading this book right now. You told me about 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan.
Yes.
Strategic coach, and the questions they're asking are like, whoa. It's like talking about leverage. And so, and Steve, do you guys do that in the winter time? Because you've grown your business. You have 60 employees and crews. You guys are doing luxury outdoor living spaces and patios. And I see your pictures and videos on Instagram. And I'm like, oh my God, this stuff looks like
cool.
The before and after, it looks like almost like our AI, bro. The shit looks so clean. How do you leverage and get people to do that at that level? Because you only have so much leverage in your business as well as at one person. And now you say things to me on the phone after your business started to crash in 2011, and then you held through, and then you rebuild it from nothing and learn all these amazing things. And then now you're in this leadership role where you're like, if I'm in my business too much, I start to mess things up.
I do. I tend to mess everything up, to be honest. So for me, in 2011, we were a much bigger company than I am today. But I got crushed. Everything happened at one point where I was down and out about $1.5 million. I didn't have $1.5 million. I had maybe a few hundred. And bottom line is I learned a lesson, and I got scared. So once I got my business stable, I was kind of afraid to grow. And from pretty much 2014 to 2019, we just kind of stayed the same. And then from there, it was really dedicating into EOS, really diving into that, getting our vision on paper of what we're trying to do. The whys were making sense. And we just talked about it 2 seconds ago. I used to get so upset that we had a seasonal business. Now I look at it with so much gratitude, like, wow, we get to stop doing what we're doing like rats, and with we just always have to keep moving the goalposts, where we can actually stop and look and go, you know what, we didn't do that right. This could be approached way better. How can we make this better? So snowballing these changes that we do in the wintertime, they're huge. They're so impactful. Most of the work, in my opinion, goes in the wintertime. People don't see that work. But once that work's set in place and we put different procedures in place, your business it's unbelievable the fruits that it bears.
So do you guys, in the winter, are you having team meetings with just your internal team or everybody? In going through all this?
Really, it's just the leaders. So the leaders of our company are the ones that understand. It's shared with the whole vision, but we're seasonal, and a lot of my guys do end up going to Mexico for the winter. So I don't have as much contact with them. We do let them know. We post things up. We make sure that our core values are everywhere. Everything that we are about and what we're changing, from our 5-year plan and our 10-year plan and our all those things. The guys are aware of what we're trying to do, and the girls as well, and as a company. And we've implemented profit sharing every single month to every employee, and it's always the same. It doesn't matter if you've been here for 30 years, 20 years, or you just started. Everybody gets the same profit sharing check. So it really has helped bring more people to my business as well, where people have labor shortages. We had 6 new guys sign on. So we had 6 new guys sign on to our company, which that's huge. It's huge in our business, especially 6 that not only worked out, they were fantastic. They were fantastic. So
you guys have known each other long. I've been friends with Eric since we were 15 or 16 or something, and I've known you for 2.5 years now. And you guys are friends before, the 3 of us. You know what I'm saying, basically. And you guys, basically, I'll talk to Eric. You're like, man, I just got off the phone with Steve, and I had these questions about my business. And then you guys talk to each other about their businesses and almost like a network about your blind spots, and have created a lot of value for each other. The common theme that I'm seeing amongst these entrepreneurs that are really growing their businesses and succeeding is they're extremely proactive. They're not sticking their head in the sand. They're not being a little bitch and wanting to run on hide.
Yeah.
when things happen. So what are those pivotal moments and some of the really hard stuff that like you've gone through, Eric, where you're like, bro, this is either like do or die. I'm gonna shrink or I'm gonna grow and push through this. Can you think of something?
I mean, there's many times where I was like, is this even worth it? Like, questioning why am I even doing this, right? Like I own a company and I'm crawling through a wet attic or something, right? It's like this is I'm not. I don't know, I guess I just kind of lost my train of thought because you moved. But I mean, there's been definitely many areas and times where I question everything. I guess, are you looking for a specific like story?
Well, I've come with you before. I remember in the winter when I was getting my landscape business stable, and you're like, bro, you want to come make some loot with me?
Yeah.
And you had already grown your business past like a 1 million or 2 million. And there we were with that Pink Panther machine.
Yeah.
And we're up in someone's attic and we're climbing. I'm like, you still do this shit?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah dog.
Yeah. Because that's that mindset shift that I was saying. Like you're in that mindset where you see the money. It's like you're a shark and you smell the blood, right? And then you go chase after the blood instead of like planning an attack on a whole school of fish. Like you're running right towards the one that's bleeding, right? Like that's the mindset shift, right? That's the difference. Is like I seen that money. It's like, oh, I can make $1,000 today or $2,000 today by going and doing these few jobs, but what if I pump the brakes and I create a team where I can do 4 of those jobs and not have to go chase, I don't have to go chase the fish. I think that's kind of what I was referring to earlier, but it just didn't come out the way that I had thought about it. But
I remember it was like must have been year 7 for you, and you're in the truck doing quotes like 10, 11 hours a day, driving all over the southeastern and even up into the parts of Michigan where all the roof jobs were, and you called me and you're like, dude, I feel trapped.
Yeah.
If you got this business with all these people working and you were still in charge of sales and leading your team in the office and then your phone's ringing off the hook. And I jumped in your truck one day and I came with you because I was doing I think I was filming you or something, and I wanted to see what it was like. And like you just being in your truck, I could feel like, bro, you fucking lived in that truck.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but I think you have to go. That's the place I had to go personally, anyways, to get to the next step. So I'm grateful that I put in all that hard work and hard time, and I think it just comes down to like taking your lashings, taking the ass kicking, and standing up, and it's like, hey, I'm ready for some more. Like, feed me some more. And as long as you keep getting up and you keep learning and you take those experiences and you apply them. And to kind of cap on what Steve was saying, in the wintertime is like, I was just telling one of my teammates before we were doing a whole strategy session this morning. And I was like, man, I love, like, this is what I need to do. Like, I don't need to be out there. I need to be in this room with my leaders, and we need to plan stuff, right, and strategize, because like what comes out of that room it's fucking magic. It's gold. That's the only way that I can say it. It's magic.
It's gold.
When I'm out there doing quotes, I mean, not that I do that stuff anymore, but I get involved sometimes when I'm needed. Like I'm doing my company and my people that work for me a disservice by being out there doing anything.
Like being in the way.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what you're in the way. You're in the way. They know it better than you. What are you out there for?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, because they are assigned to that singular job and to be the best at it.
Yeah.
So you keep context switching and switching your hats all the time makes you super inefficient and a poor steward of a business where all these people are depending on you, correct?
That's correct.
Wow. So this is the next thing. When there's multiple fires going on and to be a firefighter, you want to take off this hat and go jump into the fire and save that thing because you're scared and you were like, oh my God, you feel like the ship could be sinking and you're the one who knows how to plug that hole the fastest immediately. How do you stay away from becoming a professional firefighter in terms of your service business?
Well,
Steve was over there smiling.
It comes with a little bit
I'm so happy you asked him that question.
I'm asking both of you.
Because I try to do what I try to do, and then there's times it's like, you know what, I'm just going to plug this hole real quick because that's just what you got to do. But, I mean, most of the time, I'm sure you're at that point where it's like, hey, they'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you got to let the wound bleed a little bit. And, man, I think I coach a handful of people and they're all in that $1 to $3 million trying to get to that next level, right? And typically the biggest conversation is accountability and delegating properly. Like those are two of the biggest conversations that I have with everybody. Well, I'm the owner. I'm the best sales guy. I'm the owner. I can do this. I can do that. I used to run operations. I know operations. It's like, well, that's fine. But if you want to get to this next level, you can't do everything, because if you're working in the business, you're not working on the business. Like you need a 10,000 foot view looking down. Like my EOS implementer, he gave me when we first started doing this, he said, listen, if you were in a forest cutting down trees and I told you to cut trees for 1 mile in a straight line, eventually not even the best tree cutter is going to veer off because you're in the trees. You can't see across. But if you were in a drone or in a helicopter, right, and you were looking down telling people, hey, this way, this many degrees, like you can cut that straight line. He's like, that's what you need to do. You need to be able to be 10,000 feet ahead looking at the business while it's working and dipping in and fixing it, right, and creating processes and procedures. If you're in the weeds all the time, you can't tell whether you're going straight or to the left or to the right, and you're going to end up being over there.
You're going to get lost. There's no doubt.
And Steve, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you're 100% accurate. I don't think every role in the business, I don't think you have to be a visionary to own and run a company. You can be an implementer and have a visionary, but you can't have two. You can't have two people with their heads in the clouds. I happen to have my heads in the cloud. My head is always in the clouds. I'm sure you're looking at it. I'm better looking at it in a 45, where Dina is our implementer. So Dina makes sure, and then Dina also is. We're seeing more tasks being delegated, and that's how you are the only way you elevate is by delegating the task and putting the right person in the right seat. So a lot of our time, even in the winter, will be looking at who's overworked. 2 years ago, I said, we're not doing phones anymore. I mean, my office was literally like, you're out of your mind. We sell all the jobs. We wait for the phones. We talk to these people. We have a great relationship. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. The sales guy's supposed to do that. Mm-hmm. And I see the pile of stuff that you have that's not finished through the day. I don't have a problem with it, but I know you can't go home and feel fulfilled. All that work's going to be there for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So when we did that, I had resistance, and I did it anyways. There's times you just have to do it. Now we would never do it any other way. There's no way that we should be taking phone calls. It doesn't make sense. Just get the information. We'll reach out. We'll set the appointment. We can talk to them, figure out which rep is going to work best with them, figure out the time, and set the book. And I think that might be a backwards way of thinking, but when you're looking at your business on a 45, you can see the people that need help, because there's a lot of people that need help, and they won't tell you they need help. They'll just kill themselves. So it's your job, if you're the visionary, to look at these people and see who needs help. And don't get me wrong, I miscalculate and make mistakes, and someone's overworked and I didn't see it. But I think just servicing your people is what really has taken our business to a totally different level. Is like I'm just here to help. Whatever, I'm not going to get in your way, but if you need me, I'm here. And usually they don't want to even bother me.
I was on the phone with you one time, and you were like, bro, I'm just so happy to be a part of this thing.
Yeah, I don't.
And I was like, what? It felt disconnected to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're the owner. And then I started to understand. I'm like, where did everything change? You were like, it was when I gave my life to God.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get you to articulate that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's given that my business is more than doubled since I gave my 40 plus years I ran from the Lord, and when I gave myself to the Lord and started to serve Him, it allowed me to serve others and serve others with purpose, and they see that purpose. They've bought in because they know it's not for me. I share what I have, and I know that this wouldn't be where it is, and it wouldn't do what it's doing without the people that He's placed in my life. And my job is to make sure that all of us are successful, and we're always doing things in a righteous manner. The best we can. Don't get me wrong, we're going to make plenty of mistakes, but you have to give yourself grace and you have to give your people grace to make those mistakes.
Bro, Eric, you want to add anything to that?
No, I just love that. I mean, everything you said is yeah. I mean, you have to. I mean, we were talking about bonuses before, and like before the cameras went on, and like how we do what we do. And when I share it with people that aren't wired the same, they're like, "What? You guys do what?" And it's like, I can be the best sales guy in the world, right? I could be the best sales guy, but I can't answer the phone. I'm not the installer, right? What good would my company be if I was the best sales guy in the world and I had people behind me that didn't care? How good would my business be?
Yeah.
And it happens all the time, right? That's why the average trade business is in business for 2 years and then they go out of business.
Yeah.
Is because of this model. They're greedy owners that aren't taking care of their people, right? And don't personally care about them.
Driving around in Lamborghinis, not making payroll.
Yep.
I mean,
so common in my industry.
Yeah, yours. I mean, mine's pretty bad until I saw yours. I was like, holy cow.
I do talk about that at the process conference, too.
It's unbelievable.
I do call these people out.
It's unbelievable,
It
the
is.
egos on some of these guys in your industry. I mean, I thought our industry had huge egos, and then there's your industry, which is a totally different animal.
Yeah.
What do you mean like that? People start making a little bit of money and
Lamborghinis, McLaren, I mean, you name it, whatever they can have, they buy it, and it's essentially the employees are unfortunately left to fight for the rest, and they have to really fight for the rest. The sales guys have to fight to get paid. Everything's a fight because the owner has completely mismanaged the money, and there isn't enough to go around. So it's the Peter to Paul.
Maybe that owner hasn't experienced the fear of God, losing everything, and maybe in a crash in the economy, and having to pick up the pieces to be like, whoa, don't do that.
Yeah.
When
you feel responsible for the people that you're working with, and you know that these families depend not only to sustain but to grow, that's an honor, and what a privilege to be able to be in the position I am to do that. I don't even think I deserve to be a part of my company, let alone I'm making decisions that impact people's lives that, I mean, I would have told you 3 years ago I couldn't even take care of myself.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, what you just said. And Steve is the guy, I've talked to Steve on the phone a lot, like when you were growing your business way back in the day and learning how to build patios, and if something messed up, you'd go back and fix it. And then you had this one story, you're like, I'm going to keep on fixing it until I get it right. And
I remember the job. I remember that it fell on me 3 times. It was a catastrophic fail is what they called it. And the homeowner had no, I mean, I was like, I know you have no more faith in me, but I'm going to do it again. And he just looked at me like, what can he say at this point? But I drove by it at the beginning of this year. It was 2012 when that went in, and it looks perfect still.
Yeah.
I put the grid in backwards, so that for the first time. Yeah. And then I didn't have enough drainage behind it the second time.
You never did it again, though, right?
No.
See, that's what I'm saying.
That was a $50,000 job that cost me $150,000.
Yep.
Damn.
But that's what it takes, you know. You could shut everything down, go home crying, or you could just ignore the guy and keep going on with business while he's sitting there stranded. But yet you're like, no, I'm going to come back as many times as it takes to make this right, regardless of anything, right? Yeah. Money or time. And it's like we're dedicated to those people as we are to our employees, and in turn, the reward is, we get to do what we do, and we're thankful to do it.
I remember one time, Eric, you said as soon as the customer signs, wants the job done, you don't even think about money. All you care about is getting the job done right, and making the customer happy, and doing like everything, and going around with the magnet thing and making sure there isn't a single nail anywhere in a gutter or in the bushes or and then I remember this one time, I think you guys were swamped busy, or a guy, there was just a couple nails out of like this monster job, bro.
Yeah, man.
And the customer was like, what are these nails? And you went and did everything you could to.
You got to do whatever you got to do, man. I mean, these days, I will say, I think it's a lot harder. I don't know on your end, but on our end, it's a lot harder to like get that like 5-star, thing from a customer. It's like.
You got it though.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, it's harder because you're a company now. Now you're a company where, when it was Eric Reno and company, you don't pay Eric Reno, then you just the personal name kind of goes away from.
Right.
It's Paramount now.
Right.
Who's Paramount? I mean, that's how a lot of people think. Where when it's you, I don't think people want to do stuff like that. But yeah, people will get squirrely with your business.
Oh yeah.
Because you're a business, you're a big business owner. You can handle that.
What's a couple hundred? Just refund me this, refund me that. It's negotiating after the contract.
Oh, there's two quick things. You told me the story. This happened a long time ago, but basically, it was either you or I think one of the employees backed a dumpster up into by accident. I mean, everything you guys do is a super. I've been on your job sites, bro. Everything is super careful, and messed up the brick.
Me. Yeah.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're
wearing
all the
catastrophic fails. Yeah.
All right, tell that story real quick. That's so good.
All right, so this was before Paramount. I was actually a sub for a company, and the business owner went to California or something, and I was like, listen, he's like, we got to close everything down. I'm not going to be here to manage anything. I said, listen, I got this. I'll take responsibility for anything that happens while you're gone. You go, I got this. And I was probably, 24, 25. And there was a driveway, and the driveway was kind of sloped, and the garage door is like right here. So I had somebody hook a 20-yard to my truck, and I didn't go to check to make sure he put the hitch down on the lockdown on the hitch. So I go to pull it out, and it gets about 5 feet, unhitches, and goes through the guy's garage door. And the side was brick, breaks the drywall, breaks the garage door, and just like pushed this whole thing in. And I was, I just stopped, and I looked, and then I went and sat back in my truck, and I was thinking, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to call Mike. I'm going to deal with this. So I talked to the customer. I called a garage door guy. I called a brick guy. I went to Home Depot. I got drywall. I got everything I could do, right? And I put it all back together, and the customer, he was so happy. And it was probably a year and a half before the business owner ever even heard that story, because it was just like, dude, I got this. I'm going to take care of this, right? Like, I'm just taking responsibility.
That's stepping up for sure.
That was it, And it wasn't even my company,
and
but I told
know how
him
to do that stuff, and that was a pivotal moment.
Right, but it was like I gave somebody my word that, like, hey, you go on vacation. I'm not going to call you and tell you, hey, holy shit, I just put it, I'd be a total hypocrite if I did that, So I had to man up and take responsibility, and it's like from that day forward, just like you're checking the grid, like I would never hook a trailer up without checking it twice. I'm making sure everything's there because that happened to me. So I think that's part of that evolution is making mistakes and getting beat up and losing, and getting back up, put yourself back together, and cruise forward.
Crashing machines into houses, running mailboxes over. I mean, you name it.
Yeah. Septic tanks, windows.
Yeah.
I mean,
windows. Pool. We put a brand new pool in 2 years ago. We didn't put the pool in, but we built the pool deck. And I was pushing the guys a little bit because I was like, we got to get the sand in this thing, okay? I'd just dry it. So they torched it, and we melted his brand new pool. Literally, we didn't even see it because the pavers got hot, the ground got hot, and then obviously the metal from the pool that we didn't see got hot, and it literally the cover, or not the cover, but the vinyl just like fell. Like it was like, oh no.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we tried to get the poly sand in because it was about this time of year, and sometimes it doesn't dry, so we torch it, and that's not a big deal. It's pretty typical in our industry, but didn't even think about it's essentially vinyl up against this heated metal wall that we're going to torch up, and we wrecked his pool. So
how did you fix it?
We had to pay I think it was like $10,000, I think, to have the pool redone. So we had to have a pool company come in, take the old liner down, obviously pump all the water out, put a new liner in, and we never even. I mean, he had owed us a good amount of money, but I didn't even ask him for it because I was so embarrassed. I was like, you know what? Not only are you going to pay for this, well, we're going to eat the whole thing too, the balance, because we take a 35% deposit, and I'm pretty confident we did. If we collected anything, they didn't let me know, because I was like, I don't even want to ask this guy had his yard tore up, and we just wrecked his pool at the finish line.
What we do is hard, man. It is hard. It's challenging. I mean, the risks that we face, I mean.
Mistakes are costly.
It is
really,
costly.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, the smallest thing, like you said, hey, this is typical protocol, and then all of a sudden it's a disaster.
Yeah.
It's
unscripted when you're working in the weather and you're working with different components and being on a roof and all of a sudden a rainstorm or we're in the middle of a concrete job. It's not supposed to rain. Boom, it's pouring. What do you do? It's like, you're rushing and covering and protecting and trying to make sure that it works, but it doesn't always work.
Yep.
Wow. There's this saying, a buffalo runs into the storm like other animals run away, but they know somehow inherently that if they run towards the storm, that's the quicker they'll get through it.
Oh,
so they
wow.
say, be like a buffalo. And so, but all of these little things that you guys face prepare you for the next Goliath and the bigger Goliath. So if you would have ran back then, I just had a funny thought. I was up in a tree doing a tree job with Chris Sovell, our friend who does tree work, and I was in a tree, and he came with this bucket truck to help me because I got over my head, bro. And basically, his bucket wouldn't reach over the customer's house. I thought he was just going to come and save the day, and basically, I'm up in the tree, and now there's like 4 guys on the ground with ropes, and we're cutting this huge branch, and I go, Chris, come, you got to come do this part. And I'm in the tree with the chainsaw, and I'm fucking scared. It's freezing out, and there's guys holding the ropes. And I couldn't make the cut, dude. I couldn't get myself. And I go, Chris. And we're up 40 feet, and there's a bucket. He's in the bucket, reaching. He can't get any closer, so I had to make this big cut. And when I said, Chris, because I didn't want the guys on the ground to hear me, and he goes, what's the problem, Kelfus? And he knew what I was getting at, and he let me off the hook, and I made the cut, and everything happened perfect. And I called them. They lowered down this monster branch that could have gone through a customer's house or through a roof or something. And Chris is like, bro, do you think that I would have set you up to fail? Because I was completely trusting everything he was saying in that moment. It was out. He basically said he was in the same position before when he was a journeyman tree climber. He's like, if I would have let you off the hook and did that for you, you never would have grown past that point. So what are even beyond
good,
something
man.
that
that's a good story, man.
Yeah.
That's good. And I know Chris too. So I could just see him looking at you like that.
I actually said it twice. I went to make the cut again, and I cut into the tree a little bit, and I stopped, and my whole body froze. I go, Chris, please, I don't care about the money in this job. I don't care if you could have it all, dude, please.
Yeah.
And he goes, he just is calm as shit, bro, because I was scared. What's the problem, Kelfus? Like that, bro, just so calm. And in that minute, I knew I was like, all right, I'm going to court. I'm losing everything.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
And I just made the cut, bro. But I had to trust him in that moment more than I trusted myself. So what are some of these pivotal moments because that's what my podcast, the Untrapped podcast, is my podcast. And I think about that. What are those moments that get you from a place where you're terrified to take on that big job that's going to, or make that key hire, or that scares the shit out of you? How do you get yourself to do it anyways? And then it works out. At some point, the math is kind of making sense, but the only thing left that's being a bitch is you. Mm-hmm. Have you been in those situations?
Every day.
Yeah.
I want to hear.
I mean, just this building, the building we took. I mean, everyone's like, "What are you doing with this thing?"
You just bought or leased a new building?
Yeah, fortunately, unfortunately, however you look at it, I wanted this piece of land. He wouldn't sell it. I offered him 3 times what he paid for it 8 months ago. So I'm now leasing, which I'm grateful that I have it. I don't really like to do that. I'd rather own it.
This is your second building. You already have a huge.
Yes, this is our third building. Yeah, we have two buildings right next to each other, and we've outgrown those. So we have a building a mile down the road, but we're keeping all of them. We're just going to run different departments out of different buildings.
Okay, so you said you were.
I was scared to do it. I was scared for the payment, scared of, and I just continued to just pray because these decisions do cripple people. They cripple. I mean, for me, a type of decision like this could cripple me 3 years ago. It would have taken me 3 or 4 months to get out of my own way. I recognized that we needed the efficiency. We're not a company that carries a lot of debt. Like, what am I doing? Let's do this. This is a good move. This is going to give me more opportunities as a leader in a company to house different materials. We can get into different types of businesses because we have room to spread out. Where we're functioning right now, we're jammed into this, small space. We're making it work, but I mean, I can't believe I operated this size company in a half an acre, where now I have 4.5 additional acres, and we're trying to figure out how to make it work with 4.5 acres. Literally a year later, we're already worried about this might not be big enough. And I was scared to make this move, 3 or 4 months ago, and we're already going, we might need another 5 acres somewhere. It's like, perfect, so those are just things that I think you just have to do, and trust the fact that if you're going to continue to grow your business, you're going to have to take risks. And those risks, you're going to get you're going to do well and you can do everything you can and push hard to make that successful. And you might get kicked in the teeth. And that's just the cost of doing business. I mean, there's a great opportunity to get kicked in the teeth, but as long as you keep moving, you overcome those objectives, and it's, in the end, it's money. You might not be able to have a Ferrari in the roofing business, but who cares? I mean, it's really in my opinion, I don't have the fear that I once had, just because if you lose it all today, you can do it again if you really wanted to. And knowing what I know now, how long could I get to where I'm at right now? I know it wouldn't take me 25 years. So I guess it's letting go a lot of the fear that I've had from what happened in 11, because I was on that path where if I didn't get hurt, I don't know the volume I would be doing, but we had 11 crews then. We're running 9 now, and that's 11 years later. But we're starting to get back to where that is, but it's built properly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been through so much stuff. You can have the conversation in your own head, like, "Hey, man, you've taken risks before, and you've worked out. You know what ways things can go."
Get too conservative, and you can't move either. Like for us, it's like if we can't pay for it, we don't buy it. But that works a lot because it keeps you in check. But it also, you have opportunities, and you're not going to take those opportunities because you can't write a check for it. That's kind of being. You're not looking at the full picture, and this move already, even though we're moving slow, is already. I already see we have so many opportunities right now. I'm so excited about this winter. I'm so excited to unveil some of the things that we're going to be doing that are, no one really knows what we're working on, but it's big, and I can't wait to share it the next time we get together.
Your energy just went spike.
You can feel it.
The dopamine is like, it's insane. The things that are on the horizon that are inked deals, but they're not inked until the things are in my yard. That's how I look at it.
Eric, what about you, man?
Well, trying to put this together the way that I want to say it. So in that instance, when Chris looked at you and he was saying, what's going on? He's basically saying, do this. And then when it happened and you did it and you're like, man, everything went right. Look, the whole sky didn't fall down. But something happened in your mind where you evolved to where the next time, if you were in that same scenario, right, under the same guidance, you wouldn't have hesitated again. You would do it, right? Because
totally.
you kind of build up that self, not self-esteem, but you're just confident, right? The self-confidence that like, hey, I got this, right? Like I got this. And I think that it just comes with time, and again, like making those mistakes. I mean, we've done it. I mean, we opened a second location last year, and we're like, man, it's going to take forever for Oxford to do what Romeo does. Like Oxford dwarfed Romeo this year. Like we did way more there than we did in our old location in the first year. We just started taking on commercial flat roofing, where it's flat industrial, EPDM, TPO, things like that. And we recruited great, and now we're looking at doing $7.5 million in just flat roofing next year. But but it's scary because at first, like the first commercial job we did, it's like you're not under drywall and TVs anymore. Now we're under computer servers and $1 million machines and people and products, right? Where it's like if this thing leaks or we put too much weight on it or the snow load doesn't support it and it's not properly thought out, like this is catastrophic, right? This isn't like an insurance claim, a drywall, repair. This is the big leagues. And I think, you got to trust in your team and you got to trust in your instinct. I would definitely not just like throw mud at the wall and hope that it sticks, like everything we do now, whether it's, investing or like investing in new media or marketing or recruiting, it's like we're going with the metrics and the data. Like we're letting the numbers tell us how to dictate our decisions. We're not just like, hey, that looks like a good area. That looks like a good market. I think we're just going to set up shop in that downtown and I think we'll do good. No, we're running like population tests and like what's the average income and how many roofs, like what's the Google search per month. Like, we did Save On together, right?
Yeah.
And I was kind of skeptical of it. I was like, well, there is roofers in there. They must be doing okay. We got a good deal on it. So for the first time we sent out Save On and I told my team, I said, hey, make sure every single person that mentions Save On, we mark that into our CRM, right? So that we can go in and we can see, okay, what was our spend? What was our cost of customer acquisition? In which areas did those people call from Save On? So, the way that this scenario works is it's done by like, not zip codes, but it's kind of done by territories, right? So I did multiple territories at once. And it's like, in the end, I want to see like, hey, this territory is not good. This territory is better, right? So I want to put all my eggs over here or more over here and then try to go somewhere else, right? It's where we're basing these decisions off data. But the data comes from trials and failures of starting it and then learning it, right? In the same scenario, going all the way back to when you're looking at that tree, you're unsure, right? You're making in your mind, you're making a decision. It's like, the negative in that moment, right? The negative outweighs the positive. The negative of what could have happened that day outweighs anything that could have happened great.
100%.
But the feeling of winning always outweighs the feeling of losing. Right. So it's like that happened to you and you're like, you get down off that tree and you're like, thank you. You hug everybody and you're like, and you go home and you're like, babe, check it out, dude. Today I was up in this tree and this thing was Mission Impossible and your boy just cut that shit down,
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I don't know, man. I always push myself to do, if I feel uncomfortable, it's like the more I'm gravitated towards it, like speaking on stage for me, it's like, I need a plan. I need to practice this months ahead. Like I'm nervous about it now. And I know when I'm in the environment, it's not a big deal to me. But I'm nervous about it. So it's like, it makes me want to do it more.
Bro,
people are like, well, why are you even doing it?
Brought tears in my eyes. You spoke at my event. It's that you got that lion inside of you, that hunger, and it's just like, it comes out, man. In your YouTube channel, what's your YouTube channel? Is it still at Eric Reno?
Yeah, it's Roofolution, Eric Reno Roofolution, yeah.
Yeah, dog. You got like how many? 13,000 subs?
Yeah, I stopped for like 5 years, but I mean, we're killing content constantly now.
I love it. I see you popping up on my YouTube shorts, bro.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dog.
Shout out to my boy Anthony. He's whipping it up. So
I love this, man. So I want to like pull this together and conclude this somehow.
I'm having fun, so I've never done anything like this. This is cool to sit amongst some friends that have, and I'm learning. Everybody goes through their own, and I mean, you just figured it out a lot faster than most people, including myself. So, kudos to you, dude. I love it. I love hearing it. Hearing what you did this year is just like, I'm happy to call you my friend, and I'm happy that you just continue to keep doing what you're doing, and don't set that time, because you don't know when you might have just scratched the surface. You don't even know what's in store for you next. We don't know.
Yeah,
truly.
You don't know, right?
I mean, we can plan for it, but who knows? You might be the national guy that. It's sure starting to look like it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You never know where life's going to take you or the opportunities ahead of you. I'm just grateful to share and help and just be here, be amongst you guys, and to know people like you guys is like have people you can count on where it's like, hey, like I need to present. So I came over. I'm like, Keith, I need you to film me and listen to my whole speech and critique it as like you can just rip the shit out of it if you don't like it, right? And then I had some text questions. I called Steve. I was like, dude, I need your help, man. You know, like just to have people you can count on. It's really great. You know, I'm really grateful for that. You know, and blessed to have such great people like in my inner circle is cool.
They always push forward, right? Like I don't ever want to. We were talking about it before. Like I want to continue to grow. I just like it was a slow growth for us because of our process, but now I see the snowball coming. It's like, I better have more equipment. I better have more, because now these guys have got their years in where they can become foremen. We're now, 3 more crews. That's a lot to prepare for, but I'm excited.
It's like the addiction to the journey, and it's not so much about the destination. Yeah, that's what I always like. I love the journey. Like I love produce. Like I have to produce. Over Thanksgiving, I took off. Thanksgiving Day was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By Sunday, I was going nuts. I'm like, I need to go to work. Like I have to produce. Like I have to produce. Yeah. Like it's my DNA. I have to. Like I can't just sit and watch TV and like I gotta produce.
You've told me in the middle of the freezing winter, and when sometimes there's nothing going on, you wake up and you just go to the office and shit.
Dude, yeah, man. I mean, now my plate, I have so many different things to do now, and companies and stuff that to help, mitigate that white space in my calendar. But I don't know, man. For me, it's just I just love the journey. I love the journey of creating. I love we have a sales guy. I just did a YouTube video. We haven't put it out yet, but he came from, like an insurance sales background where he worked for an insurance agency selling like home and auto insurance, and never really had too much, and now it's like he's doing 7 figures in sales, and he's just bought his first house, and he's got his 401k set up. He's talking about buying rentals, and I'm just like, dude, like he tells me all this. And I'm just like, this is the whole reason I do this.
This is the reason.
This is the Mecca. Like for me, that's the Mecca. Is like, because I was that way once. I came from shit. I had nothing, like straight out of the trailer, right? And I was like, man, I tell a story in my speech where it's like I got a check for over $1,000 when I was making $11 an hour because I worked so much, and I taped it on my fridge, and it says, "This is why I work so hard."
I remember that, bro.
Yeah, so to me, $1,000. I remember like when we did music, there was a microphone we wanted, right? The Neumann U87.
The Neumann. I was looking at that bitch last night, bro.
And it was $1,100 at Guitar Center. And every time you go to Guitar Center, it's in this fucking crystal case, and you walk in and you're just like staring at it.
It's $2,800 now.
Well, I'm sure, but back then it's like $1,000. Like between all of us that do music, we could never come up with that much money. Like that was just like way out there.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, man, to be able to do that for other people and is, man, I don't know. For me, that's the Mecca. That's what makes me smile and makes me happy and keep producing and helping and mentoring and teaching and learning myself. Like, there's a lot I don't know, and there's a lot of things that I am yet to learn,
You're not, we're not, like, I always will tell people too, like, I do brick pavers and there's some things we do, but for me, my role is developing people. So I'm in the people development business, and literally that's what I do. That's all I focus on, is what I can do to make their jobs easier, what I can do to assist them, what resources can we put behind them so they can, have a better quality of life. And it's an honor. I mean, to be able to serve people, it truly is. I mean, there's no more selfish act. I mean, I feel fantastic after I get done serving somebody and they think that because they got something, they got something out of it. I got way more out of it. Absolutely got way more out of it.
Yeah, I keep hearing this theme between you guys and at large. It's like we and us. There's egocentric, which is I, me, my. It's like the first stage. Second is ethnocentric, which is we and us. And then next is like world-centric, like everybody at large. And I was thinking about this. I saw this kind of meme, like after you die and then 2 to 3 generations goes by, there'll be everything that you ever earned and every materialistic thing is gone, and then will people even remember you?
Forgotten, yeah.
Then I started thinking about how important is it to just be of value and be of use, period, to pass down everything good. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with that, but I think a lot about life and a lot about mortality and a lot about purpose, and ask what part of this is just selfish for me, and how do people cross that chasm and make that leap, because it seems like you guys care so much about your team and about their families and about your clients that it's way beyond you. Eric, you said something about like you like to have the pressure on your shoulders and you perform the best in that place. So how do you guys, I know how we can close this up. How do you have all this pressure and responsibility and so much caring all the time without burning out and becoming a recluse for 3 weeks straight and wanting to just not pick up your phone and sleep in or go have that deep self-care? Like, when it keeps going and going and going, how do you avoid burnout and still perform?
I'd like to know that too. So I still do. I still burn out, and I still recluse myself. It happens. I used to do it a lot more. It happens less, but it still happens to me. So there's times where it's just like I have nothing more to give. I have nothing in my tank. I'm Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm going to lay in bed and do nothing, like absolutely nothing. It's hard to do with young children, but I haven't done it in a while. But you get burned out. I mean.
So did you just say, like, hey, team, I'm a little burned out. I won't be picking the phone. I need you guys to just handle this? Or
No, it's usually when the lights, usually it's right around this time. Because generally December we shut down and shut the whole company down. Everything, every part of the company is shut down, and we don't even look at it because we give everybody the opportunity to spend time with their families. And we joke, but I like to say, you go home, look at my kids, they're huge. God, you guys have gotten big. This is insane. You grew like a whole inch. So you work so hard that you give it everything you have, and then it's more about just turning to why was I doing all this for my family? I'm doing all this for my family, so it's hard because the balance of the tugging of where you are and where you're spending your time is the hardest thing, because wherever you're spending your time, something else is lacking. Whether it be your family life, whether it be work, if you're spending more time with the family, so you're needed in all these places. How do you do all those things and still stay fulfilled? For me, I continue to pray. I pray. I get on my knees in the morning. I get on my knees at night, in the car, everywhere I go. I'm in the Word, or I'm in a book, or both. I'm listening to the Word for 20, 30 minutes. I'm reading the Word, and then I'm reading a book, and I just show up better. And it's pretty hard for me to be burned out when I'm full of scripture. I can't come out of alignment because I'm not being true to word if I'm going to go break down. So I feel like if I just continue to stay in the Bible, I won't have that.
This, we did a YouTube video on it. We used the church across the street because they had a huge lawn, and I called the pastor up to say, hey, thanks, man, for letting us use your lawn to make the video. No problem. I said, I have one quick question. I said, how do you have the discernment to know the difference between if something is like, I don't know what the word was, because obviously we inherently know right from wrong, but it was like when you're I don't know, I don't remember the question, but I think that like when your obsession for success in business and you have so much on the so much accountability and so much on the line, how do you know if you're going too far to when you're being too worldly versus spiritual? Because to be broke and spiritual that doesn't, I mean, it could make sense, but that was the question. To become crazy financially successful, how do you not lose your soul in the process? And basically his answer succinctly was, anything that's not aligned with God's word and scripture will be a clear indicator that you're what the quote unquote is drifting. You know what I'm saying? So
you're backsliding.
Backsliding.
Yeah.
Alignment with scripture and things like that. And I was like, oh my God, that's profound. And when I opened the Bible, I started reading some parables and some Psalms and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. They're
all there.
It all right here, bro.
They're all there. They're all there. This world would be a better place. But I love Eric's input on that, because at 45, I'm still, I haven't done it in about a year, but it's usually 2 to 3 times a year where I would just be, I had nothing to give. And sometimes you just know that if I show up, it's only going to be worse for everybody else. And I don't have to say anything. I don't yell. I've never raised my voice at anyone, but my energy, people can feel it, and it's terrible when it's terrible, and it's great when it's great. So
That's me, bro.
yeah, it's it. My energy, you can feel me in the room. When I enter the room, you're going to feel great. You're going to feel in the middle, or you're going to feel, I don't like that. So I don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Eric?
All right. So there's a few parts to this. I think, something that doesn't get spoken about a lot when we have these kind of podcasts is the family time, splitting up time between, your family and your work, right? Just because I like to produce, it doesn't mean I'm always producing work, right? I like to produce results. And early on when I'm growing a business, I'm literally starting roofing at 6 a.m. And early days of Paramount, what I would do is when I put my phone number on Angie's list and stuff, people would call to set a sales appointment. So I'd schedule them at 7 or 8 o'clock at night for a sales appointment. So I'd work all day. I'd go to the nearest McDonald's. I'd literally shower in the sink, like clean myself, change my clothes. And then I'd go out and I'd do sales appointments. I'd get home at 10 o'clock at night. And that was it, right? But besides like Sundays. And some Sundays I would work to build this company. But I had to do that. Like, I feel like I had to do that. But as soon as I was able, starting years ago, it's like I'm home for dinner, at least five nights a week. And it's not even the amount of time that I spend with my family, but it's the amount of quality time that I make sure that I have with my family. Like, we're eating dinner, we're talking, we're laughing, like we're playing games, like with my little ones, we're wrestling, or we're building snowmen, or going to the park, or whatever. Like, I'm not sitting texting my phone, sending emails while watching them at gymnastics, right? Like, whether, they'd rather have a quality 5 minutes than you on the phone next to them for 2 hours, right? And I think, not that has to go with the burnout thing, but I just wanted to make that clear, because I think that's something that gets overlooked, or people are like, you work so much, not myself anymore, but to other people, you work so much, how do you make time for this and that? And it's like having that quality time, like when the kids go to bed, like I have time with my wife, or we plan, to go places, and it's like, okay, the phone's beside us, but that takes time and discipline and learning, just like everything else. But as far as like the burnout factor, I don't know, as long as I'm producing and I'm targeting that next level, I'm not sure I have like days where I'm just like, well, maybe days, right? But I don't think there's like periods of time that goes by where I'm just like not effective. But I have ADHD pretty bad. I'm very like, moving around
Obsessed
a lot.
with momentum.
Yeah,
You can't be constrained,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. I'll go home and, everybody in the house is like sitting and coloring, and my wife's like, crafting, or she's doing whatever she's doing. And I'm like, yeah, let's go, right? And then we start running around the house or playing soccer in the living room.
Energy's changed.
Yeah.
Dad's home.
That's, yeah. I always tell my wife, like when I go on vacation, or I go like to speaking engagements, I was like, man, what are you going to do? Because my 6-year-old will always wake up. She wakes up at like, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. She always has. And she'll come right and find me. Typically I'm up, but if I'm not, she'll wake me up, and then we'll go have breakfast and hang out together. That's our time. And I was like, well, what are you going to do when Rainbow wakes up? And, like what happens if she like falls out of her bed, or, something like that? And Erica's like, that doesn't happen when you're not here, because your energy's not here. They sleep in. It's calm. And I was like, okay, well, that's, and that's a truth. That's a true thing.
It's a true story. For sure.
But as far as like, what we're lucky on, and something you talked about earlier, is our winter season. Like, I coach a guy in North Carolina that does roofing, a guy in Texas, and it's like these guys work all year long. And at first I'm like, man, you're lucky, you get to work all year long, but it's like, that's very unlucky. Like, yeah. I'm very happy and I'm very thankful for my 2 months of time to myself. Like, at first when the time changes, right, it starts getting dark at like 5, 6 o'clock, you're like, oh man, this sucks. But it's like, dude, I'm home, yeah, right? I get my workouts in, like it's just more of that time. And I think it's just how you use it, right? And how you perceive that time, and how you make the most value out of your time, whether you have an hour or an entire day. Like, how can I bring value, not to just like my employees and my business and money and stuff, but how can I bring value to the people? If I say I'm actually doing this, like, people be like, oh, I'm doing this for my family. Why are you doing this? I do it all for my family, right? Everybody says the same thing, right? But what are you doing for your family? Are you just giving them money so that they can spend money so they don't have to in your hair, right? Every time your kid wants to do something, like, here's a new video game, or I'll download you this, right? Here's an iPad here, right? that's what you're doing this for? Is that what you're doing this for? Is just to like what are you actually doing this for? And I think when you confidently can say, like, my purpose is to provide legacy, or whatever word you wanted to use, for my family and children and people around me, then I feel like that paradigm kind of changes, you know? But I don't know. I mean, I've been in dark places. I've like I said in the beginning, like I was in that like $5 million mindset for years, where I kind of just, my business was running me. I wasn't running my business. I was just kind of, the people that were there, it was negative. It was like, we're just going through the progressions of running a business, right? We're not achieving, we're not outstanding, right? And it's like, one day I wrote a letter to everybody, and I was like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm ready to get to the next level. Like, if you're with me, you're with me. If not, then that's great. And luckily enough, I mean, we just keep going, which is it's just good. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm much help with that, because I'm just wired a little bit differently, and it's not always a good thing. You know, like I know people that work at Starbucks that they're managers at this person in particular is a manager at Starbucks, and they love the life. They love what they do. They have a nice apartment. They get to go out all the time. They're single. They make good money, and they're not chasing the carrot like me, right? They're like, man, the stuff you deal with and all the stuff on your shoe, like, I don't even know how you deal with that, right? So I think it's an individual thing, and you know, sometimes it's not a good thing to be in the places that the three of us sit, where we're like, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what's next?
Yeah,
What's
right.
next?
Because that's what we're constantly questioning, right? What's next? Rather than just being like, I'm going to go to my job, I'm going to get my 40 in, I'm going to get a retirement and a pension, and then I'm going to move to Florida, I'm going to have a nice 3-bedroom house, you know, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that life either, you know?
Yeah, there really isn't. I mean, it's different for everybody. And for me, you know, I just want to keep going. There was a point where I didn't, and my pivotal moment was 11, and then figuring out who was with me. My letter was essentially, I don't have it. Like, hey, we're gonna clean house, and anybody that I felt that was not truly here for the company. I mean, our company was like sliced into a quarter, which was the best thing that we ever did, because we essentially reset our business, and we were able to not only hold on to it, but we saw who was loyal, and then the foundation was really formed at that point. And you know, that's the hard part, is then you're afraid to make any moves, because the last move you made just destroyed. I mean, that was my making, is growing my business way too fast, and I didn't have the procedures, I didn't have the foundation, I didn't have any of it. And then that one season in 11, like I said, it was crazy. I was growing so fast, 08, 9, 10, where everybody was scared. I'm just gaining market share, doubling my business. But we had that one season where it just rained, and you know, eventually in my business, when it rains, you don't go the next day and fix it, especially if it's been raining for 3 days. You can't go roof. You're in the ground. It's soaked. So now you have all these projects backing up, and people asking for the deposits back, and there's no money. So you're just giving deposits back, or you're begging to keep jobs that you're not even going to make any money on. So,
whoa.
Yeah, it was, but I stayed in. I mean, I stayed in, and a lot of people were rooting for me to go down. But you know what? I didn't go bankrupt. I worked for free for 4 years to figure it out, and now I'm not scared. I'm not scared of the things that when you have creditors pounding on your door, pounding on your neighbor's door, just literally calling you every name in the book, doing illegal things that they shouldn't be doing, but I mean, at that point, I made it through that. So I made it through literally having negative money. Being broke would have been fantastic. Yeah. You know, I mean, so I got zero, and I can go to zero. I had to dig out of a hole that, you know, and that's when money was, you know, probably worth triple than what it is now. So It was definitely, you got to just keep fighting. Yeah. Just keep fighting and keep going, and know that, and like you said, communicate your purpose of your why, and make sure that everybody understands the why, the goals, and everything else. Because if they don't understand what your goals are, then how are you ever going to make it there if you got all these people rowing in the wrong direction?
Yeah. Or against you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life?
I think I have.
I don't know.
You have to watch this. It was filmed in the 40s.
Oh, that's a tough man.
Yeah, I said the same thing to my wife. She's like, "What do you mean? If this in the 40s?" I made popcorn. Watch. You'll be laughing and crying. It's
Is it with that guy? He gets a whole new perspective. I think
he wants to jump off a bridge because basically George Bailey as a wife and kids and in a town and their established business, and now everything is falling apart. And there's this moment, dude. You both of you, especially as entrepreneurs, I know you might not be like, why would I watch this? You have to watch this movie, and everybody listening, you will call me and be like, bro. There's a point when everything's falling apart and there's a run on the bank and the mortgages and everything, and they're literally about to go down. And his bookkeeper misplaced a monster deposit that was supposed to go into the bank, and they lost it. And he goes, "Do you understand what this means? This means bankruptcy and prison." And so he comes home and he walks in the door, and the wife's setting up the Christmas tree, and the kids are playing, and it's like a couple days before Christmas, and he walks in the door just drained with bags under his eyes of what just went on at work. They're about to lose everything, and his family has no idea. And they're like, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." And he can't give them their attention. And the wife is like, and then he gets so frustrated. He just blows up and he throws the table over. And he's like, "Shut up and you shut up and you shut up and this godforsaken house." And he just loses his shit. And then all the kids are like, it's irreparable damage now because he lost his shit. And the wife is in tears, like, what the hell's going on? And he can't tell them because he's trying to fix it. And then he fucking goes to go jump off a bridge, and that's when a guardian angel comes and saves him and shows him what his life would be like if he never existed, of all the value he brought to the town and all the people. Yeah. And when you watch this fucking movie, bro, this is filmed in the 40s, you're going to be like, whoa. It's like everybody has to watch this movie.
I know I've seen that movie, and I will definitely watch it again. I know my parents had me watch that movie because I do remember crying.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So with all the weight and all the responsibility and all that to grow a business, people say, if I'm already stretched too thin where I'm at right now, how am I going to take on more? That's the big question.
Well, that's the delegation thing. Like, you can't be stretched thin and take on more. That's the metrics in the planning phase, right? Like, you can't. If you feel you're stretched too thin and you're dropping balls, yes, you can't open a new store. You can't take on more people, right? That's learning to, like you said in the beginning, when you're like, oh, you're the business owner, so you got to take off this hat, put this hat on, take off this hat. Like, if you're doing that now, then it's not advisable to, add on another hat, right?
It's physically impossible even if you work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, you don't have enough leverage to even make any more. So it has to be the who, not how. Who are the who's that are going to help you? Not how am I going to do that is the wrong question. So you need people. Sorry, this could be a whole different podcast, but you need the sales dialed in, the systems, the profit margin to hire the people, the training, to keep replacing yourself. And so you guys have figured that out. And when you get into these sticky spots, you fight your way out and you figure it out. And you find the right people to help you. You guys have accountants and bookkeepers and have people in the office right?
Yeah. But before that, we had a vision, right? And we had a place that we were going to properly execute. And we took it apart. And we were like, okay, this is what it takes to get 1/5 of the way there. This is what it takes to get 1/10 of the way there. We didn't just go.
No.
Right? Like, we both sat in the middle spot, like, where we had a failure and we had to climb up out of that. And I think if you listen to anybody, Elon Musk, Sylvester Stallone, any story you listen to of success, it starts out with this insane amount of pain.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden it's the Phoenix comes out and he figures it out, right? He comes out and he's able and capable of what his vision was.
The pain, the sorrow, all of it. It's all learning too. It really is. Like there's nothing that any of you guys have done, and I can say this with fact, that you just did it. It was easy, and you look back and go, wow, look at what I did. Every single thing that we truly cherish as people, it came at a price. It came at a huge price. It came at, a huge learning. I could have never done a retaining wall. That's a big part of my business. It's a huge part of my business. After that fail, driving a skid steer through a house. I mean, I could give you millions of examples, and we don't make insurance claims. We pay for these things right out of our pockets. So, because I want to keep a good rating, keep low rates.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely not for the faint-hearted, but it's somebody that is on thin ice. To answer your question, if there's anything they can strip away from their personal lives that they don't need, that they're taking from their business and apply and put those resources into your business to help you, the giving side of that will pay you back tenfold, because you'll have somebody there that can do what you're not doing, which will in turn make more money for the company anyway. So I think a lot of business owners, even the smaller ones, live way above their means. And if they scaled it back a little bit in terms of the way they personally live, they'd be able to invest more resources into their company, which would make them better.
Bro. So in my media business, I have virtual assistants and people, editing videos, and I have somebody editing a podcast right now, somebody chopping up content. I have an ads guy, I have an executive assistant, and I go, oh my God, whether I'm sick or sleeping or I don't know, I don't care if I'm in the bathroom, using the bathroom, something is happening in the business that I used to pull my hair out trying to do it all myself, the media side of the business. And I'm like, this is fun and exciting. I feel like I'm flying. I feel like I can focus on doing what I love to do, where I've always wanted to be, in these books like Dan Sullivan's Who Not How, and hang out with guys like you guys. And so it's something that I'm very passionate about. And then there's this other school of thought. I'm trying to wrap up this podcast, and I'm so excited now. Can you? I've learned this thing. Can you have a business that you're not crazy passionate about all the time, yet it's a structure and an ecosystem that produces results for you to eventually go out and do what you love, or you can invest in other things? It's like almost like a cash cow. Why would I stop doing this thing? Or maybe you don't love what you do for a period of time, but you love the people so much, and you have so much. Have you gone through these different phases, or are you just always so in love with your business?
What was that? I love that. I can't even make that noise.
I mean, I think we all go through that. Like, we're driving and banging our head against the steering wheel and cussing and turning our phone off. But I think that's just part of the progression. I don't know if anybody. Well, I hope there's people out there that just absolutely love what they do and they absolutely crush it. I mean, that's the goal, right? But I mean, what we do service. We're dealing with people, products, processes. I mean, anomalies, weather, conditions, seasonality. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into
psychology, not psychiatry. You can't do that. And we're not licensed psychologists, but I mean, it's unbelievable some of the things you have to talk to people about. That you're doing a patio, and I mean, it's great because they feel comfortable with you to share some of their most intimate things that they're stuck in, and it's a privilege to be able to, if I can help these people, I'm going to help them.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I think it can be done. I'm not, I'm passionate about brick because I've been doing it since I've been 14. I'm 45. So, this is my platform. I believe you could run a business and not have that passion, but I have not done that. So I can't say how to do it because I've basically run one business my whole life.
Yeah, same.
Ooh, that's so amazing. It's not like this is who you are. It's like you can't just take this and say.
My wife wants to say PMS and Steve DeHunt are separate. You are not PMS, and PMS is not you, and it's very hard
paver maintenance specialist.
Yeah, it's hard for me not. I mean, that's my baby. I started that at 19. I mean, that's when people were having children. That was my baby. I, going up to somebody's house trying to grow a mustache to see if I can get a job that somebody will trust me to do, even though I was capable of doing it. I mean, you're 19 years old. I'll do it for free. I'll do it with no deposit. I mean, the stuff that you do. There's nothing glorious, I don't think, about what we do. I just think it's the fight and the will that all of us have. Everybody included. I mean, these businesses are brutal because you're dealing with the public, and the public in the last 2 to 3 years has not gotten better with their emotional intelligence. It's gotten worse. So you are definitely not just in charge of giving them a great product, but it's also giving people an exceptional experience, an experience like they've never had. I mean, that's what the bar is set to at this point. It's either they expect you to have just terrible service, or, right? I mean, even when you make a phone call, I'm going to talk to, a computer for 5 minutes. So it's either A, going to be terrible, or B, it's going to be unbelievable. And we try to shoot for our clients, giving them the most unbelievable experience, not our potential clients, like not people that call on the phone for an estimate. Once you become our client, that's when we focus in on giving you the absolute best service, because you're paying for a service. I want you to have the best experience possible.
Wow. Yeah, he's right. That's it.
It's all about making that customer happy, bro.
Yeah, that's your mission, right? Like,
on the client side.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, when you're building your processes and you're building your business, a big thing that we do is we step out and okay, like, we're going to make this change. Okay, well, if I was Mrs. Jones, how would I perceive this change, and how does it benefit me?
Saying we'll do your whole roof, but we're not going to fix your broken handle going up on the railing going on the.
Yeah, but whatever it is, like you if you're in the people business and you're truly like, that's my purpose, like that's my company vision and my mission is for the people and for my customers.
Yeah.
Then when you're building processes and you're implementing things, like, how does that affect them? It's not about how it affects you and your team, right? So like when you start to get, we always ask for feedback, and when we get feedback and we see that the feedback is like, hey, this has came up 3 times as a negative, right? Like, how do we fix this? It's like, it's
Have you ever had, though, okay, so like when we did that with the phones, we had our older clients, this is so annoying, and obviously we just give them the phone number, but people would be frustrated because they couldn't ask personalized questions to people that are just all our girls do that we outsource is go to our web submission and they fill out your contact form on the web submission, populates on our CRM, and then populates, so we don't do any of the data entry part of it. But what I felt is, people said it was annoying, but I also feel like, yeah, that maybe that part of it is, but maybe for right now, this is the best way for us as a whole. Like, yeah, I get it. It's a little annoying that you've never met us and you have to wait for us to call you back to set up a time. But once we're on, it's like you essentially set the bar low, and then you totally exceed their expectations because you service them, because you're prioritizing them. For me, that's what I noticed. I don't know how you handle your phones, but
I think like what you're doing is almost you're pre-qualifying the customer, because you have to take time out of your day to do this, right? So if somebody's going to take time to do that, right, then they're potentially somebody that's going to buy. Like if they're just window shopping, they're like, oh, the hell with this, I'll call the next guy.
Yeah.
So I think what you do is great. I mean, I think it's a great idea.
It just, I saw seeing The Office, that was a big thing. It's like, right, we're in the people business. When you see all the girls go home and they're like, nothing got done today because they had 100 leads come in and they got 20 to call back. Their files are stacked up. It's like, that's not a win day for them for sure. Yeah, we went through a lot this year. Just because we had 3 hailstorms all an hour away in different directions, and we're servicing all 3, and we grew by 40%.
without having the staff ready for it. Like we didn't know
Right.
this was going to
Yeah,
happen. Like
yeah.
up until July, this year was just a mediocre year. Like we're hitting our targets. We're not doing anything big. We're not coming up short. We're just hitting our targets. And then when that happened, it was just like boom, like all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
And what it did was it exposed all the holes in our boat. And it's like all the girls are going home and like they're like, yeah, we're taking calls at 6 o'clock at night. We're firing off emails at 6 in the morning. I was like, well, we're not doing that, right?
Yeah.
Like I appreciate that you guys are so dedicated to what you do and like part of the team and you know respect the green and black so much that you're willing to do that for your time. But it's like that's not okay with me.
Yeah, I'm not
It's
trying
like,
to push you guys.
yeah, I'm not, right? So it's like, well, I have to bring in people. We just hired a VA firm from the Philippines where they're onboarding people and teaching them our processes so they can do all of our QuickBooks, our invoicing, upload stuff to our CRMs and answer the phones. And they're doing all this admin work to help our staff like unload some. But yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, you never know what the challenge is next year. You know, you just never, like, we didn't know that we were going to deal with this year. You know, boom, it happens.
I didn't know until it was March, I think, where we were like, we're not getting our guys. What are you talking about? We're not getting our guys. You drew a G, and we're in a H2B program so we have a visa program where we bring guys in to assist. And these guys have been coming in for 5-6 years. They come from April, and they leave November 24th, right around Thanksgiving. I've gotten an A every time, never, just business as usual. I find out I'm not getting my guys. I'm like, what am I going to do? Automate. I'm buying every piece of equipment there is. So I literally bought paver setting machines, everything I could possibly buy so I could keep the production up, but also I could save the backs of the installers because if we install larger format paver, if we do it with a machine, then I'm not crushing my guys to put it down.
Right.
And maybe we can do the same revenue with less. And we were successful with that.
So how did that end up? Or you haven't seen your guys this year?
What's that? They came. We brought them in. It was.
I'm not familiar with the H2B, so I don't understand the A and the G and not getting your people.
So G is the worst rating you can get. So it's a lottery. So G, you're not getting your guys. So
by luck, you drew an A every year, but this year
I drew a B last year, but I got the first part of B. So the first part of B, A and first part of B usually will make it through. But there are so many people now that are involved in the program that it went up by like double, but the applications are the same. So like, for instance, the same guys are coming over, but now it's just double the amount of people fighting for those guys.
Yeah, but so does your guys go to a different is it like drafting a fantasy team? Like I don't understand how this works.
No. So those guys unfortunately are stuck there, and then
they don't get to work nowhere because they didn't get selected.
Correct. So then we resubmit. So then we bring them in October, house them, and send them back November 24th. So we only got them for a month and 3 weeks, but we were able to get a guarantee that we will have them next year. So next year's goals, because I will have people that I know that will be here, we're going to set them a lot higher because I know that you take 15 guys out of your your arsenal. It's like
especially your A team. Right?
It was defeating, but that's when new guys had stepped up, the recruiting had stepped up, and we had another banner year.
Yeah, I mean it seems to happen like whenever you think like like this is it, something's done, and it's like something you're just like I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
Every time somebody exits, it's like something better comes.
Every time a door closes, another one opens.
That's a better analogy.
That's exactly it, too. And you don't even know it because you're so emotionally tied to why did this happen to me, and I do everything. I treat these guys right. I do this. I do that. Why is this happening? And those are things that I say in my head. But then it's like, why not me? It happens to other people too.
Yeah.
What is this the moment that's going to define me that essentially my business is based on a lottery?
Yeah.
It's not based on a lottery. The lottery can help, but we're here no matter what.
Bro. The whole underlying theme here. I'm not even going to say it because it can go without saying. Those of you guys listening right now, oh, dude. This is so good. I just want to stop right here on a high note. This has been one of the best podcasts I've ever done. ever on the Untrapped podcast, and we're going to email it out to 15,000 people. We're going to chop it up and put it on Instagram and TikTok.
Fantastic.
How can I find you guys if people want to check you guys out on social or see your work or anything? Eric?
It's just my name, ERICRENO. And I mean, I guess you'll find that anywhere.
Eric Reno.
Eric Reno, that's it, man. I don't have any cool alias anymore.
Yeah. Steve?
PMS, Brick Pavers, we'retheguys.com is our trademark. So that's on Instagram and Facebook. We're there. And then it's just my personal name on LinkedIn. I don't do any of the other. I just started TikTok, so I'm learning TikTok.
I love your commercials, Steve, when your video guy is panning away with the camera or in, and it's like you're in your showroom with all the like setup. It's like houses and homes with brick paver patios inside of a big showroom. Hey guys, this is Steve with we'retheguys.com.
Yeah.
And it's like a real epic commercial. It shows the B-roll of all the work.
You guys have to check that out too. The content that you guys produce is awesome, man. And I think everybody should look at that, and it's inspiring to see. You know, you guys, it's awesome.
Yeah, your ads are just straight meat and potatoes, bro. They're good.
Yep.
I'm looking for a little bit more, and that's where I'm hoping that you and I can do something really like epic.
Oh, I'm down. I told you I'm down.
I know.
I was stuck on the client journey testimonial thing, and I know that's not easy to go sort through and find clients for me to do an insane video like that. But it would be so worth it.
Yeah.
So all right, guys. Hit up Steve, hit up Eric, and let them know that you heard them. I heard them on the Untrapped podcast, and hit me up if you want to hear more shows like this. We're gonna have to do this again, and we're gonna I'll put the links to their stuff in the show notes so you can check out their content as well. Thanks, guys, for being on my show. I really appreciate it.
This is cool, man.
And we're gonna try to get this show off the press and out soon, quick, before your speech in Orlando.
Promo.
Orlando.
Yeah, dog. All right. Thanks, guys. Later.
All right.